I will show you how to make your own thinking system because most other chess teachers will just tell to watch their playing while saying out loud their thoughts. And with just waving a magic wand, you will have 2000 elo somehow. I will not teach you those weird things. That's not true. You should make your own thinking system and don't try to find those shortcuts because they do not work. If you don't trust me, in the previous video, I have already shown you how I use patterns that I know from other openings and how I don't blunder because I constantly update my thinking system with every single mistake. Every time I make a mistake, I think about why it's a mistake and how I avoid making more of the same mistakes. The example was my queen was hanging, and then I made it so his queen was also hanging. But then he could give a check, and the check really bailed him out. My opponent just blundered a pawn. Okay, thank you. So I think my opening went perfectly. This looks like a fantastic opening. I should think about how to aggressively defend. So in this variation, I really want to defend, but as active and as aggressive as possible. So I got a free pawn, and so my opponent already goes for the pan off. That's a good variation to play. And in the pan off, he tries to attack, and I just gambit a pawn. So if he takes and takes, this is a free pawn, but I will have a fantastic position. He pushes, which is horrific in my opinion. And this pawn will be disgustingly bad. And then I castle out of this pin, and he just blunders a pawn. So now he is not doing anything. So I really want to try to move like here so I can make a check work. Yes. So I think that I can now, first of all, attack. But then after you move, I move here. That doesn't do anything. So let me jump in my knight. Attacking the rook. There has to be something here. I can feel it. Maybe if I pressure this. But that's hanging. There is a win here. I feel it. I can attack the rook. Rook moves. And I can maybe take the pawn, you take, and I can attack both knights? No. There is a win here for sure. If I do this with an attack on this knight, after I feel like this should be winning. There is a win here, I'm sure of it. If I attack, you move the bishop. Then if I attack your queen, you move it. That doesn't do much. There is a win here. Attack, you have to retreat. Attack. And after take and take. I don't know. If I attack your rook. So that I'm setting up to take maybe, because after take, I can move with an attack on everything. Here. Here, move. Take, take, attack. I'm down a piece. Wait, but this is defending the bishop, right? So how do I overload that piece? It's by moving this. And I'm setting up a lot of threats. Okay, so I think this knight has a duty of defending the bishop and keeping my knight out of e4. So again, I had a feeling that I was winning. So I'm thinking about how am I winning? And then a lot of variations, I have pressure on this bishop and my knight has to go to e4, both of which are defended by this knight. So I'm now just overloading this knight. And after take and take, your bishop is hanging. You have to move. Then I will be able to jump in. You move the bishop. Wait, that has to be horrendous. That has to be bad. This knight is defending the bishop and defending the pawn. And this is a hanging pawn. So if I take the bishop, you take back, I can take. This is pinned. I have the threat of moving this with an attack on the rook and on the knight. So I have to be winning here for sure. I can also take this because after take I have takes, but then you take. So I think I have to take this first. I could have taken queen take and I move my knight anywhere with an attack on the queen, but my queen is hanging as well, so that doesn't make sense. So take take. That makes a lot of sense. I can now take this. So I already got a free pawn at least. And I'm threatening to move this with an attack on the rook and an attack on the knight. So I think I'm completely winning just like that. So I just memorized a little bit of opening theory and then I just activated all of my pieces. I already understood that my opponent probably made a mistake. That's a fork, by the way. So I fork you. You have to move. I just take and I solidify. Or is there something stronger? Nothing's hanging except for my bishop, but I mean, I'm attacking a queen. And if you take and take and take, I can even take, and my queen is never hanging. So I think you have to move the queen. I will take your rook. You will have to take back. And then I might be able to like take, move this with defense of my queen or something, or even just take this. I'm not sure, but I have 5 minutes to figure it out, and I'm quite sure I'm completely winning against, by the way, a 2,000 rated opponent, and he just resigned. So let me show you exactly how I won against a almost 2,000 rated person. So he goes for the Karakam. I take the center. So it's an opening. I just take the center, and after take and take, I know it's the pan off. Here I have a little bit of theory that I play this G6 line. And after bishop to g5, I play bishop to g7, and after take and take, he might be able to take. That's fine. He can just do that. I don't really care. If he takes with the knight, I think there is a tactic here. I don't even know these lines too well, to be fair. Is it like takes, and if you take with the queen, I can attack? Like take, and I attack the queen with the pin? No, because my rook is hanging with a check. Don't do that. Yeah, I even think that after takes, we just castle, and after take and take, the point is that your king is so weak. I think that's how we play. But so the point really is that we gambit the pawn. He didn't take, but this is horrific. Now I have this diagonal on this weak pawn, so I will have infinite pressure on that pawn. That's horrific. This is for sure an inaccuracy, if not a mistake. So I developed the knight, already putting a lot of pressure on this. You have to pin, and I just unpin my knight. So now I again open up the thread of doing this. You just blunder a pawn for seemingly no reason, and now you defend. So a lot of you would probably be tempted to just retreat the knight, and after something like take and take, you're fine, you're up a pawn, and you can convert this game quite slowly, develop the bishop, put the rook on the b file with an attack on the queen. That's fine. That's fine. I will not judge you, but I want to be more active. I defend my knight. I line my queen up with the king. I line my queen up with the pawn, with the knight. My knight can still retreat. You have no way of attacking my queen, which is fantastic and very, very important to calculate, by the way. And I'm just setting up pressure on the bishop. I have way more pressure here. You develop the knight, which I thought was bad, and I develop the bishop. Why do I develop the bishop? Because I really want to jump in with my knight and open up this pin. Use that pin to just maneuver my knight in, attack the pinned piece, open up this, take the pawn with an attack on this knight, and just obliterate him. He castles, I jump in my knight. I don't know if this was the best move. This pawn is hanging with an attack on the rook, but your knight is fine, I guess. But then you jump into the line of my queen. But I open up my bishop. This is very complicated. I cannot lie. You retreat your bishop because you saw that the thing I wanted to do is to take and to take, and your bishop is hanging. And if you take, I can take. I have threats here. I have threats on your bishop. I have threats on the pawn. So you choose this, which might be a blunder, but I'm not sure. I take and take. Now this is undefended, so I have this pin brewing. I can infiltrate with my knight. I have this pressure. I have the pressure on this knight. I have the pressure on the pawn. And I'm up 2 points of material. I can kick the knight if I want to, but that doesn't really make sense, I believe. So you go for this, I fork you, and you resign. So let's see what Stockfish has to say. So Licha says that my opponent had a bad game. We have one blunder and one inaccuracy, played at 86% accuracy, and my opponent 72% accuracy with a blunder, a mistake, and 3 inaccuracies. So let's see, we were black. So after e4, c6, we go for a normal carcon, we take the center, he takes and plays the pan off. We develop the knight, he develops the knight, and here we go for a gambit line with g6. The best move is to take. We can develop or take back. If we do this, we can attack. We can just rotate our knight. We can do whatever. There are a lot of lines that, if you want to know them all, you should buy my course when it's out. And after this, we develop the bishop. And after take and take, I told you that you could do this. We would retreat, and yes, we're down a pawn, but we have this disgusting bishop. We will have this disgusting bishop. We have a disgusting queen. We can just hop in our knight. We have these targets everywhere, and we will probably win. This is 0-6 for us, which is disgusting. Instead, my opponent played g5, which I would think is an inaccuracy, but apparently not. We just developed the knight, which isn't the best move. We should castle first. You pin us, and already this move is the best move. After takes and takes, you have to defend. We can give this check. You have to stop it. We can just castle. You trade queens, and after takes and takes, we take back. And you take back this pawn, we take this back, you attack there, we retreat, and now we're up a pawn somehow. Oh, this is equal. Okay, I thought we were down a pawn, but this is actually equal. Okay, fair enough. So this already a blunder. Apparently taking this pawn is better. Because if we take with the queen, we can do this with an attack on the queen and the knight and the rook and the bishop. Yeah, okay, that's disgusting. I didn't see that. So now, how will I change my thinking system so that I don't miss those tactics? Because even if he didn't blunder the pawn, I could have taken this, and I can see that I lure the queen in so that I can move a piece with a attack on the queen, on the knight, on the bishop, and after you move to defend the bishop, I have takes, takes, attack the knight so that you have to probably move, and I will fork you. That's cool. I didn't see that. So yeah, in this variation, it only works because the knight is hanging and this diagonally is completely open. So first of all, I should have seen that this weakened this diagonal even further so that this pawn is crucial and that I could lure the queen onto my very, very strong and his very, very weak diagonal. And that's how you think about positional chess. What is strong of me? What is weak of him? And that's how you find those tactics. But I do have a free pawn. Taking it as blunder. That's an inaccuracy. And again, going back is fine. Defending with the pawn is fine. But this is the most active and aggressive move. I thought that this would be the best move to stop this pin and maybe counterattack my queen in the future and maybe counterpin my knight to my queen. But you develop, which is bad. And now developing my bishop is an inaccuracy. I should have done this instantly. So if you take, I have check. Oh, that's double check. And after you move, I take with an attack on the queen. The queen has to move. I have take, take, take with an attack. You can take. I don't even take attack this. I take so that if you take, I can take with a check. Take this. You can take there. I take this with the counter attack so I can take. And after check and I move and you move and I... Ooh, then I can check to win the rook. And in this position, I'm up a rook and 2 pawns. Yeah. They didn't really see the whole sequence, but it's very cool to know that I could have already done that. So anytime you have a weak pawn and a weak pawn and a lot of pieces have a lot of duties, yeah, look for tactics. I developed first that you castled. Now I do see that, so that is the best move. And I was thinking that takes is forced. And Loki, I was thinking about taking with the bishop, which blunders my whole advantage. So I should take with the pawn so that after you move, I counterattack the queen, which I didn't see at all. And after take and take, I can attack this pawn more. You can stop this attack, and I can now use this outpost to block your rook. And your best move is just to sack the rook or attack my queen. The queen moves, defend the pawn like this. I can attack. And now you should just move. And after take, 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 and take, I won a pawn. And I'm up 2 pawns, and you have 2 weaknesses. I will probably win both weaknesses and use those weaknesses to push my passed pawns, or I will use my kingside majority to make a passed pawn and win like that. If you want a very in-depth explanation on win conditions, which is very useful and what I just showed you with the passed pawns, I talked about it on the previous video as well. So, but way more in depth there. So I didn't really see every variation, but you mess up and I take and take to lure away your um, knight. Now I can take. This is obviously a blunder because I just fork you. And I thought that he would move the queen. I would take the rook. You would take back. I can take this with defense of my bishop while making a threat. And the best move for him to do is just to sack or sack like this so that you have this going, but then after take and take, even I have traded successfully, I can ask for a rook trade, and if you deny it, I will just infiltrate. If you don't blunder your bishop, I have another pawn, and I'm up 8 points of material, which is a rook and 3 pawns. So yeah, I'm very winning. And by the way, I have the threat of putting a piece here and just checkmating you, by the way, which is a very nice threat to have. If you attack me again, forcefully trade, move, attack, move, attack, move. And probably I would go for something where I can just trap your bishop, by the way, so that you have to go back and now your bishop is very useless and I can just keep attacking and hammering away at your pawns. That's probably how I would do it. And here I can dislocate everything, start pushing, pushing, and push my passed pawn till the end because that's my win condition. So if I earned your subscription, you know the button. Have a nice day. If you want more advice like this, you have other videos on my channel. Other than that, have a nice day.